Hello everyone, EJK here, and I recently got asked a question about how to deal with mass Pheonix Colossi. That didn't sound like a question mark when I said that. Anyways, the reason why a lot of top Korean players don't use Pheonix Colossi is because there is kind of like a universal solution to deal with it, and it's not a very strong death ball army, so that unless you really catch your opponent off guard and do a ton of damage with the Pheonix Colossi, and you're able to spiral kind of like snowball the army out of control. In an even situation, it's not going to win battles. The reason being, uh, most people think that you should get mass amount of Vikings, and you should try to fight the Protoss army head on with his air, but Phoenixes actually do a good amount of damage to Vikings. Is this it? Is this it? There we go. Alright, so I I loaded up a replay here, and if we take a look, he has 19 Phoenixes, 5 Colossi, 3 Stalkers, 2 Sentries, and a Mothership Core. I have 12 Vikings, 14 Marauders, 42 Marines, 5 Ghosts, and 6 Medvacs. So, a little context going into this game. I played against this style the game before, and I tried to make a mass amount of Vikings, and basically what happened is my Vikings all died, and then he just picked up, like, he has 19 Phoenixes with full energy, so I had like 20 Marines left, and he just picked them all up, and all of my Marines died, and that was not fun. So, the next game, this is the next game, I didn't focus so much on Vikings, and I made 5 Ghosts. The reasons for making the Ghosts are that they do a lot of damage to Colossi and to the army in general, and they also, if you can EMP a Phoenix, you can get rid of their energy as well, and Phoenixes like to be clumped up too. So Ghosts also force them to kind of be spread out as well. And the goal to be able to defeat Pheonix Colossi is you kind of ignore the Phoenixes, and the Ghosts help be able to ignore the Phoenixes because they're not going to be able to lift up, and their shields are it's also like if you EMP them, it's going to be 60 damage to their shields as well. So you basically want to get rid of their ground army, because if we take a look here, he only has 22 Zealots, 5 Colossi, and 3 Stalkers. This is a different variation of Pheonix Colossi. It relies a lot more heavily on Phoenixes. He also has +1 attack, and he has, I believe, the range upgrade as well. And he's making Phoenixes 2 at a time. But regardless, the same unit composition should work for 1 Stargate Phoenix and having slightly more Colossi. Basically, you want to get their ground army is never going to be big, and their upgrades are always going to be far behind. This replay kind of shows the extreme of the situation, because I know Pheonix Colossi, usually you don't see players get 2 Phoenixes and +1 air attack, but it still is Pheonix Colossi composition, and it's still handled the same way. If we take a look at the upgrades, I have 3-1 right now, and I have 1-0 at 19 minutes into the game, and he does not have any upgrades for his Colossi. He's getting, or for his gateway units, and he's getting 1-1 as well. Normally, if you only get 1 Stargate worth of Phoenix, I don't think you should really, he should probably have 1-1 by now, but it would be a pretty big stretch to have 2-2 by this time with 1 Stargate worth of Phoenix, because Pheonix Colossi, basically the gas that usually goes into upgrades is now going into Phoenixes, and the gas that usually goes into the Templar tech is going into the Phoenixes. So if you see Phoenixes and you see Colossi, then you know that Templar is going to be late, you know that his gateway army is going to be small, and you also know that his upgrades aren't going to be as great as yours. If you haven't like lost any time upgrading your units, you should be ahead by at least 1 set of upgrades. In this case, I'm up by, I believe, 4. And even if he did have 1-1, I would still be up by 2 sets of upgrades, which is still really great. So, enough talking. Let's take a look at the battle here. Uh, you want to try to focus down the Colossi as much as possible because they're a significant portion of the ground DPS. And if you just like watch the battle unfold, I'll rewind it in a sec, but his gateway army kind of just gets destroyed. Like, he no longer has a gateway army. He has all of these phoenixes, and that's usually what happens at the end of a battle, but they don't really do anything. I mean, they're just shooting at my medevacs, but they can't really touch my ground army. And then I would call that pretty much a one battle there, because now I'm able to take out his third. He no longer has an army. Army's twice as big as his. So that's kind of like how a good battle against Pheonix Colossi is supposed to look like. Once again, this is taking it to the extremes. I believe most players usually have one Stargate of Phoenixes, and they usually have like 8 to 10, not 19. But the same concept still applies, and I didn't execute this battle very well at all either. This was played off server, so EMPs, I'm still trying to get used to EMP shots, but the targets for your EMPs should be definitely the Phoenixes, the gateway units, the Phoenixes, the Colossi, if you can, but for the most part, you want to kind of keep the Colossi alive, and you want to split your units so you take as little damage as possible from them, and also kind of ignore the Phoenixes. So your main focus is to destroy the gateway army without taking too much damage. And if we take a look into the battle, actually, and we take a look at like the Colossi shots, so one Colossi shot's hitting a Marauder and a couple Marines, another Colossi shot's hitting the Marines, and then like they kind of get a couple shots off, but I don't really. Oh, duh, because they're hitting that. So this just happened to be a good engagement for me as well. He was kind of A-moving his Colossi, but he kind of has to. If he doesn't attack move and kill those, then these units are just going to pick off the Colossi one by one super fast. So let me just go back to that. Alright, so the Colossi shots are going to be your heavy damage hitters, but if you can like if you spread your units out, then they don't do nearly as much damage. That's why also attacking from multiple angles is very helpful. So let's take a look. So he does one volley, two volley, he kills like a Marauder and a couple Marines, and then I back my units up, and then he starts auto attacking this area as well. And Ghosts, they also do a very good job of tanking damage. Colossi do 15 damage, they do 2 attacks, so they do 30 damage per shot. Their weapon speed's 1.65, which is extremely slow. Ghosts have 100 HP. So no matter what the upgrades, it's still going to take 3 volleys from a single Colossi to kill a Ghost. So Ghosts, not only do they add this EMP, which really makes Phoenixes useless if they can't pick stuff up, and if they don't have shields as well, then they also tank a lot of shots. Like they tank the equivalent of a Marauder essentially. So if we just see here, those Marauders really absorbed a lot of shots off, and they absorbed enough shots so that my army was able to clean up his gateway army, and what's left is he has a Colossi, he has some Phoenixes, and I still have a decent Bioforce. And the Phoenixes, throughout the whole engagement, I kind of just ignored them because they weren't really. They were like, if they don't have energy, they can't lift stuff up. If they can't lift stuff up, all they can do is hit air units. So if you still have a bunch of ground units left and you can't lift any of them up, they're basically paperweights and they're useless units. So that's why you kind of want to leave them for last, along with the Colossi, because the Colossi are just kind of too far away. Usually Vikings can outrange all the Protoss units, but since he has Phoenixes, you can't just target down the Colossi, so you kind of have to leave the Colossi till the end and just get cost efficiently fight your way through his weakened gateway army, so then it's only Colossi and Phoenixes with no energy versus a relatively large ground force. Alright, so 10 minutes. Hopefully that wasn't too long. I'm trying to do a better job of cutting down on my videos on like certain things. Not all of them are going to be short, but I do plan on trying to make some shorter videos. And yeah, this was only one game. If I had more examples, like if I dug them up, then it would have definitely taken like 20 minutes, 30 minutes easily. So I'm just going to try to keep this short, and hopefully this solves the or this presents an answer to the question about dealing with Pheonix Colossi. The bottom line answer is you need ghosts, don't overmake your Vikings, and stay bio heavy. Mostly marine. Don't go too marine heavy. Have a good amount of marauders to tank damage, but you don't want to make too many marauders because you need marines to be able to shoot down the phoenixes at the end of the fight. Otherwise, like if you're just left over with marauders versus Pheonix Colossi, then you kind of like the phoenixes just destroy the marauders. And also, just when you see Pheonix Colossi, recognize that the Protoss player's ground army is going to be a lot smaller. His upgrades are always going to be behind yours, and also that Protoss players almost never go Pheonix Colossi for a very specific reason. I mean, it's very map dependent, and usually if they do, then like on Alter Zeme, that's a common spot to do Pheonix Colossi, but pro players do that because they get the phoenixes to patrol along the natural to stop drops, which I think is a very good way to play the map. But other than that, in like a normal type map setting like Alter Zeme or Habitation Station maybe, but it's a really small map. But definitely King Sejong Station and Frost or more normal TvP maps, then it usually shouldn't work. And the reason being because of Ghost Viking so strong, along with Bio. Alright, so thanks for watching, and I do plan on streaming. It's 11:30 EST right now, probably around 2 to 3 EST, and until like 5 to 6, depending when my stomach calls. So, yeah. Alright, cool. Catch you guys later.